ban. Remember, he had the Muslim ban.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
said, well, why isn't anybody trying to ban white guys from this country? And you would have thought that I had, cut off, a left, what, or I had
Right.
taken their firstborn kid or
Right.
whatever
Right.
for telling the truth and what the statistics were showing with the FBI data. Why do you think that these white dudes, these white guys are so triggered? Why are they such snowflakes and they claim other people are?
We got to talk about Don Lemon because once again, he's saying some pretty wild things, man, especially considering the situation that he's currently in. But we'll get into that here in a minute, all right? I got a clip from the Young Turks that I want to play for you guys where they're talking about Don Lemon. It's pretty funny. It is pretty funny, but this is just like a recurring theme with the left, right? The hypocrisy is just so thick. I mean, it is absolutely insane, but I'm not going to bury the lead. Let's jump right on into it. Let's dive in.
White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back.
I don't like this. I don't like generalized statements about any group of people, but nonetheless, yesterday's episode of the Don Lemon Show was titled, "White Men, Are You Okay?" Now, Lemon was specifically responding to the horrific Mormon church shooting over the weekend. And it was a horrific shooting. The perpetrator also lit the church on fire. Two of the individuals who died as a result of the fire. Two others died because of gunshot wounds. But this was also an individual who had multiple deployments to the Middle East. He was a Marine, and we all know that there is a huge problem with our veterans not getting the treatment and the mental health care they need. So maybe the problem's actually a little more deep than someone's skin color. But nonetheless, over the course of this hour-long segment, he repeatedly blamed white men as a whole, kind of generalizing, for the epidemic of mass shootings in America. Here's more.
White men, are you okay? Are you okay? Because until you are, this country won't be okay. Until there's some sort of reckoning with your rage, with your racism, with your radicalization. It is white male radicalization. And we need to fight it like the national emergency that it has become. Because the next shooter is already watching. The next shooter is already waiting. It's already soaking in the lies, the conspiracies, all the excuses. So wake up, white men. What the f is wrong with you? Don't you realize if you're a poor or average person that you have more in common, gonna blow your mind, with a person of color than you do with the billionaire class or the millionaire class who are co-opting you into thinking that something is happening that's not? They're grifting off of your ignorance.
I agree with that very last point. And this is a broad point that I think needs to be made over and over again. Ordinary working class Americans have far more in common, regardless of their race, regardless of their sexual identity, regardless of their gender, than they do with the elites, with the executives of, multinational corporations and all of that. So I agree with that point. But I do disagree with what he is claiming here in regard to, all of this violence that's been carried out recently, it's because of white men who have been radicalized. When in reality, each terrible act of violence that we've talked about in recent weeks has a different reason. Okay, if they might have been perpetrated by white men, but there are other motivating factors that led to the horrific acts that they committed. So I'll get more specific about it in just a second, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, Cenk.
Yeah, I don't like it. So look, it's not that I'm not guilty of it, right? In the past, have I fought fire with fire? Yeah, sometimes I did. Yep. And I know why he's doing it. He's saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So because a lot of right wingers now attacking the left wing. Oh, the left wing is violent. The left wing is violent. And in the past, the real problem is black men and black dads and black crime and where are the fathers and all this stuff. Okay, but two wrongs don't make a right. So is it really white men that are the problem? No, of course not. Okay, so look, there's two different issues. One is factual. If you want to know the real answer, is there an actual demographic that commits more crime, more shootings, more violent acts? Unfortunately, there is. It's uncomfortable, but it's true. And the answer is young males. All across the world, it doesn't matter what your race or religion is, young males commit way more crime than any other category in every country across the world. It's testosterone, it's the way that we're built, etc. Now, I'm not.
He wanted to say young black males. He just didn't say it. His whole platform would have been cooked if he would have said that, boy, I tell you. Boy, I tell you, man. But, the hypocrisy with all of this, well, actually, I'm just going to play this clip. Don Lemon going after white men is actually pretty hilarious considering he's married to one. Yeah, that's his husband. Don Lemon sleeps next to the terrible white man on a nightly basis. Oh man, he sleeps next to the white man on a nightly basis, and he's going after white men. That is absolutely, positively hilarious. And that's why I said the hypocrisy is rich, man. You think white men are such a threat, but you lay your head next to one every night. How does that work? Anyway.
I'm not saying go do pre-crime and go arrest all young males, whether they're white, black, Asian, etc. No, don't do that, right? But if we're being honest about it and accurate about it, it doesn't have anything to do with white or black. It has to do with young and male, right? So now, the second problem is a bigger one, which is that if we keep going, oh yeah, black guys, oh yeah, white guys and white men and black men and all this stuff, we're just gonna be permanently divided. So, no, I get why you wanna do pushback when they blame you, but then we get into an endless cycle of culture wars and we never get out of it and we never focus on what the real problem is. And I agree with you, Anna, about his last comment. Yeah, Don, I love the last comment. We should all get together and realize the problem isn't created by someone on your left or someone on your right or someone who's white or someone who's black. It's created by the people up top, the donor class that have basically captured our government. And part of how they capture it is that they get us to fight one another endlessly. So we're distracted while they rob the place blind.
Well, I agree with that to a certain extent. Because my issue is, right, people like Cenk and the rest of the liberals were willing to allow Democrats to continually, openly, now maybe not so open, but 1 + 1 always equals 2, right? If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And typically our so-called conspiracy theories have all been proven right. So, with all things considered, as I'm watching money being funneled overseas to wars that we shouldn't even be involved in, and I'm seeing, these net worths of Democrats and some of these other politicians, some of these rhino politicians also absolutely balloon. And time after time again, we're sending even more money. It's just more money and more money. Like, do you think I would want to have those people back in charge of the government? Nah, listen, I ain't saying the system is perfect because we all know it isn't. We all know that. But I think I think with Uncle Trump in charge versus Kamala or some other Democrat like Gavin Newsom, we're a lot closer to perfect with Uncle Trump versus those folks. And I think, what they tried to do to him, is proof. If he was one of them, why would they try to throw him under the jail? Why would they try so hard to have this man taken out? Financially, but then also have his life taken from him. Why would they try so hard if he was one of them? If he was padding their pockets? It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, we still have a lot of politicians that I think should be voted out. 1,000%. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm not even a Democrat, right? But a lot of these Democrat politicians need to be voted out. 1,000%. And we have a lot of rhinos. John Thune, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, John Cornyn, amongst others, right? We have a lot of rhino Republicans that need to be voted out. Some folks who are padding their pockets. What's the ghetto chick name? I'm drawing a blank. I'm drawing a major blank. Why am I drawing a blank right now? Jasmine Crockett, goodness gracious. How did her net worth balloon? Where did all that money come from? Same thing with Ilhan Omar. How has her net worth ballooned? I believe her net worth is like $30 million. How is she worth that much money now? So I disagree on the, let's just all get along and let's just all vote for the same. Like, nah, bro. If y'all want to get along and vote for America First Republicans, absolutely. Let's hop on board. Let's make this country great, and let's make sure our politicians are held to a higher standard. Let's make sure our government isn't. What's the way that I can put that? Let's make sure the country runs the way it was supposed to be run. Not in the sense where, our government is in our daily life and invading anything and everything in our daily lives. We should know more about our government, right, than our government knows about us, in my humble opinion. But that's just me. Y'all can let me know how you feeling in the comments. But I just thought this story was absolutely hilarious. Hearing Don Lemon go after white men when he's married to a white man. Like, it's just absolutely crazy, especially when we consider the fact that not long ago, this was Don Lemon. Check it out.
Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5, pull up your pants. Number 4 now is the N-word. I hosted a special on the N-word, suggesting that black people stop using it, and that entertainers stop deluding yourselves or themselves and others that you're somehow taking the word back. Now number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. Number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison. And the cycle continues. So please, black folks, as I said, if this doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking to you. Pay attention to and think about what has been presented in recent history as acceptable behavior. Pay close attention to the hip-hop and rap culture that many of you embrace, a culture that glorifies everything I just mentioned, thug and reprehensible behavior, a culture that is making a lot of people rich, just not you.
That was Don Lemon not very long ago. And now he's blaming the same people or the same person that lays next to him at night, which is just absolutely crazy. But that's what we expect from the Democrat Party. A bunch of hypocrisy, a bunch of lies, a bunch of nonsense, and a bunch of BS. That is just the Democrat Party at this point. And it's the same thing for mainstream media because they're part of the Democrat Party too, and that's all we get from the mainstream media. We can't even call them media anymore. I don't know what we need to call them, but it's not media and it's damn sure not news. Okay, the glorified YouTube channels at this point, I guess. I don't know, but anyway. Y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about all of this. Do you agree with Don Lemon? Do you disagree? Let me know. Y'all stay safe out there. All right? Peace and love. I'm out.